What began nearly 5 years ago as a simple show featuring three friends chatting over their shared love of films has grown into one of the most popular movie-themed podcasts on the internet and iTunes. Millions of listeners and growing, over 600 special guests from the world of cinema, an acclaimed series that bring you closer to the films and the talents you love than ever before. Tonight, Movie Geeks United correspondent Dean Treadway speaks to hosts Jamie Duvall, that's me, and Jerry Dennis as they dish on all the stories that never made it to air and answer your listener questions. Plus, we'll replay some of our favorite moments from our archive of guest interviews that include James Cameron.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate your enthusiasm, and thanks for the good questions.
Francis Ford Coppola.
Head toward what those things we want to do and not postpone them and do it all, because then that's what we call living.
And Alan Rickman.
Well, I'm an honorary geek, then.
You are. You'll receive a special plaque pretty soon.
Yeah, I think I'd like that badge. Says honorary geek.
Go behind the scenes of Movie Geeks United. Next. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's going to be a great time tonight, I think. This is our first ever all-inclusive, behind-the-scenes peek into Movie Geeks United, how we put the show together, some kind of backstage, as it were, stories about the guests that we've booked, and some juicy gossip in here, and some of our favorite clips from the past nearly 5 years. How are you doing, Jerry?
I'm doing fine. I'm pretty excited for this. So, shall we get things rolling?
Absolutely. We've been gone for like 3 weeks, so we figured, let's come back with a celebration.
I couldn't think of a better time to do it. So, yeah, definitely.
Let's celebrate ourselves.
Exactly. Hey, they do it in Hollywood all the time. So
That's right. And tonight we are joined by our great friend and our special correspondent, Dean Treadway. Hey, buddy.
Hey, how's it going?
And you are going to grill us. You are going to interrogate us.
Yeah, really.
And ask those burning questions that our listeners have and that you've come up with, and it's going to be a good time. So I guess let's just get into it, and throughout the show we're going to pepper in some of our favorite clips and hopefully keep it light and entertaining.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, buddy.
I think the show's always entertaining. So. Thank you. I think the best way to start off here is to ask you a little bit about your checkered past, both of you. I mean, I really want to start off by asking you, like, if either one of you have had any past experience before you started the show as interviewers or as journalists or radio people or even film critics or even as filmmakers.
Well, in terms of the checkered past, the conviction was overturned. And honestly, no. I mean, I never gave any thought to really being a critic, which I don't think that I am. And I never gave any thought to being like a radio kind of personality, which I don't really think I am either.
Well, I mean, surely somebody in the past has told you that you had a voice that was particularly suited for radio. Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, but they were
Isn't
usually
that
drunk.
usually an insult, though? Isn't that Usually.
You have a face for radio. That's an insult.
Okay. I'm just getting my insults straightened out here. Okay.
I thought about lobbing that little insult in there, but really I'm speaking as the quality of your voice is actually perfectly suited for radio, Jamie, and yours too, Jerry. You're very good as radio personalities, and so no one ever said anything about that to you to give you some kind of inspiration.
No, you know what? I used to do a lot of theater stuff. I used to do a lot of acting on stage, and it took me a long time to get some kind of projection with my voice. My voice was always kind of meek and a little too soft. So I guess it comes from that, voice training and stuff. But I never did it with the intention of doing a radio show, or charging $1.99 a minute. I mean, so I never had.
Now that, if you can do that, dude, more power to you.
Yeah, this show would go bye-bye if I was able to do that. That would be it.
No, okay. So let's talk about when you the moment that you said, well, maybe I should. Look, I have an interest in movies. Maybe I should pursue this thing, to do this thing called a podcast. What was that moment like for you, or what led up to it?
Jerry, go ahead and tell the story of what led to us.
Okay, well, wait, doesn't he want to get into my checkered past, or no?
Well, yeah.
No, it was a 2-hour show.
I mean, yeah,
it would take 5 years.
But definitely, Jerry. I mean, I do want to know about.
No, but let's first go with the folklore, and then we'll get back to that. Yeah, we called in. Jamie was on the Dead Air show. It seems like
February 20th.
5 years ago.
February 20th, 2007.
2007. And we called in and we were talking about movies and stuff. And the next day, we both got emails from John, right? Wasn't it John who was? He was
a co-host of the Dead Air show, which was a Blog Talk Radio podcast. Yeah.
And he thought we had a good routine, good back and forth, and he said we should give it a shot. And that's really where it started. And about a month later, a month or two later, we went on the air.
Yeah.
And it was.
You know what? Had you listened to podcasts very much before that, or really known the inner workings of them?
No. I hardly listened. Even though I really never. I maybe once or twice, but that's it. That was really my first experience with it.
I didn't know what a podcast was. So these guys, great guys, Dead Air show. It's no longer. It's literally Dead Air now. It's no longer on Blog Talk Radio. But they sent me an email and they said, hey, we want to do a segment about the Oscar movies and stuff, because it was a couple of weeks until Oscars.
Right.
So they said, can you come on, because they had read my MySpace reviews, and that's actually the first place where I was introduced to Jerry too, was through reading his writing about movies. And we would go back and forth kind of messages and chats and stuff like that on the computer. But so I was on that segment talking about the Oscar hopefuls and stuff, and Jerry calls in, and it was the first time we ever spoke. February 20th, 2007, and I have this clip.
Wow.
This will be fascinating.
We haven't heard it, and I didn't hear it since the night I did it. So, and I'm sure you're the same, Jerry. So
I haven't. I didn't know this existed.
You know what happened? I downloaded it from iTunes, and then I went to edit it, and it was all in slow motion, like the audio. So I had to speed it up to get it to regular speed. So maybe it still sounds funny, but here it is. It'll start any day now.
Hey, looks like we got a caller on the line, possibly with a question from Mr. Jamie here. Looks like it's a caller from 301, which the internet is telling me is Maryland. Caller, you're on the air.
Hey, this is Jerry. I just wanted to call and say hello to Jamie.
Hey, Jerry, how you doing?
I'm doing good. It's great to hear you.
It's great to hear you too, man. This is one of my main talkbackers on the movie review blog, and he has a review blog of his own, and he's an incredible writer.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Thanks for calling in.
Yeah.
Got any questions for Jamie here? You just
just one. It was very nice to hear him talk about Pauline Kael and Roger Ebert, who I do agree gets a bum rap because of the whole thumbs up, thumbs down thing. I sometimes want to know where the thumb has been, to be quite honest with you. But no, my question, I always wanted to ask just Jamie one question. It is about probably the best pitcher winner, I guess, next week is going to be Babel, unless something really drastic happens. Yeah. But one question I did want to ask Jamie just about the movie itself is, you were also a big fan of the Tommy Lee Jones directorial debut, The Three Burials of Miguel de Estrada, I believe it's called?
Yeah. Yeah.
And did you feel that the screenwriter there actually accomplished more in that film than they did in Babel with a lot of the same themes and things?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was a lot more subtly told in Melquiades Estrada.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't bash you over the head like Babel tends to.
Babel? Yeah, it does.
Yeah, and I'm not the biggest fan of Babel, because I think there's so much, bombast in the movie. It's kind of headache inducing. But there's definitely a lot of passion in the film.
Yes.
And I respond to that. But just a little, what it's missing is it's not very observant.
True.
There's not many little emotional tells. It doesn't slow down for any kind of quiet moments.
True.
And that's
Jared, do you have a? I'm sorry, I thought you were doing that.
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask Jared, do you have a MySpace page you want to go ahead and broadcast?
So that tells you how old that is. He was asking for a MySpace.
Yeah, totally.
Isn't that something?
History.
Like the first time we spoke, Jerry.
Yeah, that's weird. Definitely strange.
And it's been all downhill since.
So,
are you there, Jerry? By the way.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So did you once you decided to get together and do this, what was the process like going through Blog Talk Radio? I mean, is that an easy process to go through, and then buying all the equipment and things like that? I mean, was that an easy process for you since you didn't know anything about doing a podcast before?
Wow, you're really taking the like Wizard of Oz, going behind the curtain here. There's no. All you need is I sound like one of those horrible lawyer ads you see at 3 a.m. on television. All you need is a phone and a computer.
Yeah.
It's very bare bones. I mean, you can do this other stuff, sure. I mean, and it got anything to help with the sound, obviously, on some nights. But no, it wasn't anything like that. It was at least as far as I remember, it was a very easy process, easier than you would think.
And it's got to be easy because I always say it. I'm like a technological idiot, so the fact that it just takes a telephone and internet connection was perfect, and I overdid it. Like I was like in a recording studio and stuff, and on the first show, and using somebody's phone or something, and that was like way overboard because I didn't have a home phone at the time. I only had a cell phone, and I knew the reception would be terrible on a cell phone. So all I really had to do was buy a home phone. That's it. And at first we thought...
No fancy microphones or anything with the stretched nylon in front of it or anything like that?
No, and I tell you why. Because Blog Talk Radio is a great service. They have not yet accommodated kind of like stereo sound. So even if we were working with professional kind of equipment, we'd still get a condensed kind of low bandwidth, whatever the terminology is. It would still be a condensed
sound. Sort of
sound.
like an AM radio sort of sound.
Yeah, it's always going to sound like AM radio until they upgrade. And I know that they've talked about working on that. So what's the purpose of spending thousands of dollars on that kind of professional equipment if it won't come through?
That's true.
Did you ever take after you started and the first show appeared on what date?
Wow,
April, the middle of April, middle of April of 2007.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And we just had a conversation. We were like, let's come. And so we brought on Chris because Chris was a friend of mine from, 10, 15 years earlier. And Chris and I bonded over movies. I mean, we still do talk for hours whenever we visit each other about movies. And so I said this could be a fun chemistry between the three of us. So we said, let's just do it. And we're just going to talk, three guys amongst ourselves. And the first topic of the first show was movies that make us want to vomit.
Oh, yeah. That was...
What were some of those?
Oh, gosh.
Oh, God,
Basic Instinct was one for me, I think.
I think the Omen remake was one for me, and then someone called. We had two legendary callers. We had Will I think was our first one who called in from horroryearbook.com, and that was definitely historic. And then we also had I think Lon, I want to say, who owned a memorabilia shop in the area. He called in. We had actually a lot of callers. If I'm not mistaken.
We did in the early days, and then they got kind of skittish.
Skittish, or
Actually, why do you think that is?
Because it became something else.
That's right. Yeah.
And we didn't have really any intention of being like a guest interview show, really at first. But the beginning of the show corresponded with me going to a film festival on like a press pass, and I met a lot of filmmakers. And I said, "Hey, you want to come on the show? And I got a new show. You want to come on and talk about your movie?" And so those interviews actually started on the second show. And when that started, I saw a way to kind of grow our audience by bringing on filmmakers and talking shop with them, not having any idea that we'd have the skills to do that, just playing it by ear. And the first guests we had were on the second show were documentarians. They did a movie called Camden 28.
That's right.
About, this group in Camden, New Jersey, that opposed the draft, and they burned some draft documents in an office where they were kept, and they were arrested, and it was my favorite documentary of the year. And then the next show we had Sophie Fiennes, who was another documentarian, the sister of Rafe and Joseph Fiennes, who made this movie with what's his name, Slavoj Zizek or something.
Yeah, and it was, oh God, what was the name of it?
The Pervert's Guide to Cinema.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh,
that was our third guest. And she talked about David Lynch, and I said, you know what? Let's try to do a tribute show. Yeah. So we did our first tribute show to David Lynch, and it was the first huge high point of the show for us, because I sent out all these interview requests, and we got all these guests. We got his childhood friend and a guy that made a documentary about him that talked about Lynch, talked about he and Lynch and what they did on the day Kennedy was assassinated, and what Lynch was like as a kid, and what it was like shooting Eraserhead. And then we had the sound designers for Fire Walk With Me that were talking about how much David Lynch wanted the sound raised to an ungodly high level. And we had a person that wrote a book on them, and a critic, Sean Levy, and it went off without a hitch. And I remember Chris came over that night, because we were watching like the Sopranos finale or something.
That's right,
We were both on a high. We were like, we can really do this. So then we did Al Pacino tribute, and it just went on from there. So it kind of evolved very quickly into the kind of voice that we have now as a show.
Do you think that that's one of the reasons that maybe some callers choose not to call in, is because they're just like intimidated or something like that, or maybe they don't want to mess with the flow of the show and they're just too busy listening, or
maybe
I think it's a little bit of everything, but I think it is because the show did change. And I think that, that definitely had a thing to it. But I don't think we wouldn't be on still if it was just that first show, that format. I think we would have all eventually burned out. At least I know I would have. I mean, I would have definitely. It's hard to keep that kind of. There are people that can do that, obviously, like the Joe Blow website, Chud, all those sites, they can do that. /film. Well, /film has guests, but they can do that. I think if it was us and we were just doing that without this show without guests, we wouldn't be here right now. I think
so too, and we wouldn't be unique.
Yeah,
like we are. It's not just that we have guests. It's kind of the unique kind of guests that we get. Like people that other like quote unquote amateur podcasts like we are can't get, or don't even think of trying to get. And that's what I always tell people, that how do you get the guests or whatever. We try. I mean, I never said to myself, no, it's not worth it. I'm not going to be able to get that person. I tried, and a lot of times I was surprised by it. And this is a good time for one highlight clip, and then we'll get to your next question, Dean.
Okay.
Our first highlight clip of the evening is one of those guests who never, ever does interviews, and we chased him down for months. And his publicist our manager finally talked him into doing our show. And that is actor M. Emmett Walsh.
Oh, my God. Here we go.
And my computer's frozen. Could you log into
my next question is going to be, do you see a new computer in your future?
No, okay. Jerry, just for safety's sake, if you could log in, I mean, I think it's okay
let me
now.
Go ahead and do that, yeah.
But I'll run it, and when I can't run it, you'll be right there so I can tell you I can't run it.
Okay, all right, let me...
So, Emmett Walsh, tell some of the guests who might not know Emmett Walsh, like some of the stuff that he's done in the past.
One of the great character actors. He's probably most famous for Blood Simple, because he's the old craggy, he's old craggy and everything, but he's the old craggy kind of detective, the seedy detective, and he's in Blade Runner. He's in Clean and Fletch, yes. Clean and Sober, which is one of my favorites. A great guy. Now, he wanted me to call him before the show on his home phone to remind him to come on the show. And I called him, and within 3 minutes he called me a prick. And I said, wow, this guy's going to be a live wire. So essentially, the interview consisted of him making fun of us a lot, which was great. So here's M. Emmett Walsh.
We love your work, and we are tremendously honored that you're here with us, because we know you don't do this very often. You don't like interviews very much, do you?
I don't like people that do interviews.
You know what? Walsh, I hate myself with great passion, so we have something in common.
Well, let's personalize this. Which one's Jerry and which one's Jamie? How do I tell the difference?
I'm Jerry.
And I'm Jamie.
Does
that help?
Made your life a shitload complicated.
Yeah, I know. It sounds like a couple guys that never married. Yeah, okay. Anyway, what's up? So we got this film opening, Don McKay, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Which I've not seen.
You haven't seen? Will you be seeing it at the film festival?
Yeah, they're making me stay in it. I'm in New York right now, and I just came back. I think to sell my co-op. Anybody else that wants to buy it, probably 40% less than what it's worth. So I'm staying for the opening of that on Friday night. Then I go back to LA. And I've not seen it. I did loop on it or do some additional dialogue back 3 or 4 weeks ago, but I couldn't tell anything from that. So it stars Thomas Hayden Church, and it's his movie basically. And Melissa Leo's in it. She just got an Oscar nomination there for driving a car across the St. Lawrence River. But so that's it. As I say, I've not seen it. It's kind of a noir, and I don't know anything about it.
Tell me a little bit about your character and why it appealed to you.
Well, as usual, it's a love interest.
Right.
Which one was that? Jerry or Jamie? Right? Who got the laugh there?
Yeah, I laughed. Yes. Okay. You're a romantic lead in this, right?
Anyway, basically at this phase of my career, I'm driving a taxi cab, and I pick them up 10 or 12 times. They don't let me walk and talk anymore. I have to be planted. I have to be. They don't trust me in front of a camera to do that. So if they hire me, I'm normally sitting someplace. Maybe I'm the Sydney Green Street now of my time. But
that's okay. But wait, they won't. Wait, is it like you're not allowed to move at all in the last couple of roles?
No, but I said that, but it sounded funny when I said it.
No, of course not.
He was a character, man.
He and Rutger Hauer, it
We'll play Rutger Hauer.
Yeah, Rutger's.
But
yeah.
I remember telling him that Clean and Sober is like one of my favorite movies. It's like Michael Keaton movie, and he's, he's essentially the second lead in that. He plays Michael Keaton's sponsor in that film, and he said, "Oh, so you're a drunk?" No. So I mean, that was the tone of the whole conversation. So Emmett Walsh. All of these are available on our archive, and you can go to MovieGeeksUnited.net, and you can find links to every interview we've done. Go ahead, Dean.
Emmett Walsh would be just like the perfect kind of guy to just go fishing with or something, you know?
Exactly.
He'd be so hilarious. Let's get into so when you do a show, first of all, like even now, or has there ever been a time when you were nervous before doing a show, or
every show?
Really?
Oh yeah, every show.
Why so? I mean,
just how I am. It's how I'm wired.
You're just neurotic.
Yeah, but I mean, every show there's always the anxiety, like the couple of minutes before you go on the air. I think there's always that anxiety.
Mhm. Yeah.
The only time I was ever really nervous, so to interview someone, was De Palma, because that was the biggest person that we had interviewed up to that point. Everything else was kind of like Paul Schrader, I felt at ease with, and Coppola, but no, De Palma was a very towering figure. And the only other one I would say that really towered was James Cameron. Both those guys are intimidating.
I remember that because I remember in the early days talking to you, because we both had a love of De Palma movies, and I said, why don't we do a De Palma tribute? And you were like, oh God, that's like, your obsession was De Palma, so you're like, that's a little big.
It's enormous, I mean.
And then when we finally got De Palma, because I didn't know where to go for De Palma, and then he had Redacted, and so I found the PR person behind that movie, and I requested De Palma. And at that stage, we had already done the De Palma tribute show with a couple of his friends and people that worked with him as part of it. And the publicist said right away, no, he's not available, can't fit it in. And then, like, a couple of hours passed, and then I got another email that said, okay, Brian wants to do it. Can you do it this time, or can you do this time on your show live Wednesday night? And I just flipped. I called Jerry right away, and I was like, oh, my God. Because De Palma interviews on shows like ours are pretty rare.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, he's a hero of ours, so we can't wait to talk to him.
Yeah, we want to talk to him and find out.
We're very nervous.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's something you don't want to screw that up.
Yeah, but what happened was, he agreed to do it because he had heard our tribute show. And we found out from a critic friend of ours that interviewed him in Toronto Film Festival, where he showed the movie, that was actually on the tribute show as well. De Palma looked at him and said, you were on that Movie Geeks thing. And he said, yeah, I was. And he said, did William Catt ever call in? Because William Catt stood us up. And the guy was like, no, I don't think so. And he was like, huh. Like he was going to have a word with William Catt.
Yeah.
So he was aware of us, and he wanted to do our show, which was exciting. And we got him to laugh. We got him to laugh. We did.
Yeah, like getting Garbo to laugh. So it was, it was very nice.
We have a clip here. Hang on. All right, this is part of the De Palma. This is it's self-explanatory. At the time, he was planning to do a prequel to The Untouchables.
That's right.
And he was having a lot of problems with casting. So here's a minute-long clip of De Palma. Any day now.
I want to know a little bit about your next film, which I believe is a prequel of sorts to The Untouchables.
Well, again, we are still trying to cast this. We've had this together with a bunch of different actors over the last couple of years, and things keep on falling in and out. I have nothing to report. We thought we had it together again. I don't know if it's going to pull itself together soon enough for me to shoot next year, because I have to shoot it in the wintertime because there's a Saturday night, a Valentine's Day massacre in it. It's got to be done in the cold in February. So if I can't get it together in another month or so, I'm going to go off and do something else.
Well, I heard that you were trying to fill the spot of the young Al Capone, and you were looking for someone strong and sexy, and I just want to throw my hat in the ring.
Well, absolutely. Send your resume. The problem is I don't think we can raise any foreign money on your name. I may be wrong.
Give it time.
I could be wrong.
Give it time. You might be able to.
Yes, could be.
Wow.
Yeah. We propositioned him for a job. That's classy.
Have you ever done that with anybody else on the show? Like, I mean,
No.
obviously that was a joke, but
No, we haven't. And you know what's happened lately? I mean, people are like citing us, and we have a really loyal listener who's just written a book on Carrie, and it's being published this month. Joseph Eisenberg, and he used our tribute show to De Palma and Carrie, as a source in that book. And then we talked to Ken Tucker, who's a critic for Entertainment Weekly, and he wrote a book on Scarface called Scarface Nation, about the whole phenomenon of Scarface. And he said, I listened to your shows on Scarface and De Palma as I was writing the book. And that's a marker that we're doing something right.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Let me ask you guys about this. What is the actual delineation of duties between the two of you? I mean, for me, it seems like as a listener and now as a contributor to the show, it seems to me that Jerry's it seems to me that you, Jamie, are mostly about the interviews. And obviously hosting and framing the show, but also it seems like Jerry's main focus is actually reporting on the films as they come out.
I think it's fair.
Is that
beyond
fair?
Yeah, that's beyond a fair description. I mean, I agree with you 100% there. I mean, that is. There was talk. Early on of, that this would actually be called the Jamie Duval Show, and I don't mean that in any way. There was talk of that because it's really Jamie's idea and Jamie's show. So that's a very good, but that's a very good breakdown. That's really what it's become. Because you don't want to sit there. For a while I didn't really, there was not much that I wanted to say or ask, so it's sort of like pointless for me to sit in on some of these things unless I have a really burning question. You're just sort of like the third wheel almost. So lately, I'd say the last 6 months, I have been definitely taking a back seat in the interview department, but I think that's a fair description. It's what Woody Allen said. Showing up is like 90%. I took that to heart.
Well,
right.
I guess, and I felt guilty about this over the years because, I kind of took the reins of this thing without consulting Jerry or Chris. So it would help.
Or Aaron.
Yeah, but Aaron came in like much later. But our show became what it became, and I think we all agreed that we were on the right track with it.
Right.
And I had the contacts and everything, so I just kept at it. But every show has a producer, whoever that might be, and that's essentially my title, like producer and co-host, and Jerry is a co-host, and Chris is a co-host, because we all three started together. We are Movie Geeks United.
Right.
And I guarantee you, if the show were called the Jamie Duvall Show, it wouldn't be half as successful or a quarter as successful as we've been as Movie Geeks. And Jerry is smarter than I am about movies, about the history of movies, about the breadth of filmmakers and world filmmakers. So I depend so much on his knowledge. You can't really throw any movie-related thing at him that he can't respond to,
or at least lie about.
Well, that's part of it,
yeah.
And that's an important part. And he's fiercely loyal, and he is as much Movie Geeks United as I am. We've been together every show from the very beginning, and we're partners.
Mm-hmm. Well, given that delineation, let me talk specifically. Let me talk about to Jerry here for a second. As the show's main reporter on films being released, do you ever feel burdened Or do you ever get a little tired of going to the movies, considering the quality of movies and stuff like that that are out there?
Gene, you have hit on something that's happened the last couple of years. I will sometimes go see something, and I'm just like, what the fuck am I doing here? I'm serious. I'm like, isn't it? I could be doing something else. And that's not because of the quality of the movie. It's just you realize I'm very good.
Because remember, you're not
ritual.
getting paid. Neither one of you are getting paid.
Right.
For
Oh, it has nothing to do with that. Trust me. God, it has nothing to do. Although it would be nice to be paid, it has nothing to do with that. But I'm very guilty of something called of ritualism. This goes with everything I do. I sort of feel, it's. I guess God here. Let's use a movie analogy. Angel eyes in the good, the bad, and the ugly. He'll finish any job. He just makes sure he finishes it through. It doesn't matter what it is. Some of these things are just, but it comes to a point the last couple of years, I'm like, do I really need to see this? Is this really, as you get closer, as you get older, and time becomes very valuable to you, and it has the last couple of years to me, it's like, I really just don't care. Especially when it comes to some of these horror sequels and stuff. I'm just like, really? On my deathbed, am I really going to regret not seeing, like, a Final Destination movie? Is that really, or whatever. I mean, so I have not seen a lot of stuff this year. I've seen a lot of smaller films this year, and some other things. But there are other things I'm just like, I don't think my life is going to be hampered if I don't go see this.
And a lot of critics feel that way, I'm sure. And it's part of the reason why Pauline Kael said she retired, because movies were just so bad. They weren't, not that they were bad, but they weren't worthy enough to be written about. And what different thing do you have to say about some of these movies? A lot of them are just alike. Yeah. The same.
That's when I was doing the live movie review show for almost 5 years here in Atlanta. That's why I left that show, because I just said, unless we can do some shows about smaller movies, which we couldn't do sometimes because those studios didn't have the wherewithal to send us clips for movies.
Right.
So and you need clips to have a TV show. So we would be stuck, doing the same old movies same type of movies every week, and I had to leave the show. I said, look, I just can't stay with this show. I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to hate movies, hate going to the movies.
Well, what can you say that is unique about a movie if there's nothing about the movie that is unique?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can't invent stuff.
You really, it's hard to. It's very hard.
So I envy Jerry. I mean, Jerry knows, and anybody that listens to the show knows, I don't go to a lot of movies. I've just started going to screenings and things. But and that's really the only way I go to the theater.
Yeah.
I'm ashamed to say, even though I love movies and I watch them all the time at home, I go through archives of older films that I haven't seen and obscure movies.
Right.
So I'm completely enveloped in movies. I just find it hard to go pluck 10 really hard-earned dollars and scarce dollars on something that I know that I'm not going to get anything out of.
Right. Yeah, I think that's good. That's a good way to put it. It does come down in that sense. You're looking. It does add up, and you're just like, really? Do I? It's like, really? You see it, and you're like, really? Do I need to see this? Really? Are you serious?
And we do get a little bit. We do get a little bit of money from monthly advertising, because Blog Talk Radio has a program where you can opt into an advertising fund. With that money, I mean, I built the website, and that has a monthly fee and stuff. And so I use that for that. I use that for gas, because all the screenings I go to are in Tampa, and you have various, I work it out.
Right.
And I do get perks, and another thing I feel guilty about is that I can't include you guys on those perks.
Right. No, that's okay. That's fine.
I mean, because they mail me DVDs, like critic screeners and stuff like that, but they can only be mailed to one person. But I today I got Michael Moore's autobiography, so they want to have it reviewed on the show, and after I'm done with it, because I know this is something that Jerry will like.
No, I didn't even know about this till a couple of days ago that he had written a new book. So yeah,
I will send it to you, because I know it's something that you like, but I need to read it too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So
now here's the thing: can we get him on the show?
no. That's what they said. They said, no interviews for Michael Moore. And I said, all right. Well, I mean, I'm not going to talk politics. It's not going to be combative.
Right.
For a change, I want somebody to talk to Michael Moore about actually
movies.
making movies.
Yeah, that's
like,
something we haven't heard in a long time.
Nobody talks to them about that. You know, I don't want all the stuff that'll get people ticked off. But people will be ticked off just by the presence of Michael Moore.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? The angrier people are, the more they'll listen. So
That's right.
I'm kind of hoping for that in a way.
Right.
But,
well, I mean, it makes sense that you get all those perks like the DVDs and so forth because you are the producer.
The producer.
Of the show, so that helps you decide exactly where you're going to go with the next episode or whatever. Now, let me get into your side of this, Jamie, and this is probably the thing that I think a lot of people we've touched on it a little bit, but what is the process of getting guests on the show? I mean, tell me about some of the things that you've had to go through to get maybe some of the hardest guests to land, or the guests that just sort of like a big guest that just sort of got plopped in your lap by some PR person or whatever.
Well,
we
go through stages, and we're at a stage right now, and I am where I get depressed if I haven't gotten a big guest in a long time for the show. So we haven't really for a little while, and I mean I'm not able to get anyone right now. I mean it's like a wasteland out there. But I sent out like 50 requests on Friday. I mean, but then somebody will pop up, and we're live again. But you can never really expect it. I do what a lot of people do. That's another thing that the advertising pays for is the yearly subscription to IMDb Pro, which gives you agent and manager and publicity contacts. If I'm really trying to track somebody down, I will look on the credits of their last movie. I'll find their assistant, like their personal assistant on that movie. I'll find that personal assistant on Facebook. I'll write them. I'll do whatever I have to do to exhaust every possibility I have to get a guest. I just sent an interview request by mail to someone because they don't have an email or an agent contact.
That's right.
So who knows if that'll come up with anything. But I know that I've tried everything I can to get that guest. The important thing is that I try. And with somebody like Cameron, we had tried for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Avatar was being re-released. I looked up whoever came out with that. What was that? Paramount, right? Or
no, wasn't 20th Century Fox, wasn't it?
Fox.
I think
right.
It was Fox. Yeah.
I looked up Fox Publicity. They directed me to the right contact because I called them and I sent them an email. And I was like, okay, well, another no. 10 minutes later, they wrote me back and said, he'd love to do this. When do you want to set it up? And I just about soiled my pants. I mean, you don't know. I mean, 3 years of trying, and all of a sudden it's easy as anything on that one try.
Right.
So you just don't know. Now, the last big guest we had, big for me, was like my childhood idol. I have two creative idols. Al Pacino, which is my dream guest, and we haven't gotten him yet, and Barry Manilow, who we got. So, I mean, Jerry and anybody that heard the show knows how big this was.
Right.
For me.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's an enormous show.
I grew up on his music, so I was. That's the most nervous I've ever been, and I did the interview on my lunch break from work because we all have day jobs, and I was like, I'm going to lunch, and I'm going to interview Barry Manilow. I mean, it's kind of a unique situation at work. So I come home, and this is what I wanted to play from this. This is something that nobody gets to hear, because when we do pre-recorded interviews, we just start from the first question and go to the end. You don't hear the beginning, waiting and anticipating that phone call. So I'm sitting at my switchboard. I'm the most nervous I've ever been. And you can kind of hear me breathing heavily and stuff, like trying to calm myself. The phone rings, I pick it up, and it's Barry's personal assistant, who tells me he'll call in a few minutes. And the break you hear after this, I actually switched phone lines and called my mom, and I was like, Barry's calling in a couple of minutes, Mom. I'm physically shaking. I don't know what's... Yeah. And she said, well, tell him how you used to sing his music out in the front yard sitting on a tree. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to tell him that. So this is the clip I'm going to play of like the anticipation of waiting for Manilow to call. As soon as I'm able to press play on this clip. Are you on the computer?
Yeah. Let me. So which one am I?
Manilow.
Manilow. Okay. Okay. I got you.
Man, the suspense is killing me.
This is a very unique sort of peer into this, I think. So.
All right, let me. Why there's no play? I get no play buttons on my.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's a problem.
Let me refresh real quick and. All right, here we go.
Okay.
We're back. We're sorry, guys. Live radio. Anything can happen. Okay, Manilow. Here we go.
I'm Barry Manilow's PA. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you, sir?
Oh, good. I found you. I misdialed a minute ago, and I got Terminix.
When you dialed the number, you got Terminex?
I did a second ago, yeah. But it was the same kind of thing. Like, press 1. It was a 718-508 number, and then I misdialed something, and I got Terminex. So anyway, now I've got you. So listen, I'll get you on the phone really quickly. I just want to make sure I have the right number. I'm glad I tried first.
This is it. This is how you.
Okay. All right. We'll talk to you in like 10 minutes tops.
Thank you.
Thank you. You taping it?
It's being taped, yes, sir.
Great, terrific. Okay, looking forward to talking to you.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Hey, bye. I'm Barry Manilow's PA. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you, sir?
Oh, good. I found you.
Called back again.
I misdialed a minute ago, and I got Terminex.
When you dialed the number, you got Terminex?
I did a second ago, yeah. But it was the same kind of thing. Like, press 1. It was a 718-508 number, and then I misdialed something, and I got Terminex. So anyway, now I've got you. So I'll get you on the phone really quickly. I just want to make sure I have the right number. I'm glad I tried for. I'm Barry Manilow's PA. How you doing?
What's going on?
I'm Barry Manilow's PA. How you doing?
All right, there. No, I don't know why it did that. I don't know why.
Okay, hang on. This is the last time I'm here. I will press play. Hang on, okay?
Okay,
ready?
no, it's done. We played it.
No, it's not over. Barry hasn't come on the phone yet.
Okay, great.
You guys will have to sit through this PA again. You're going to know the PA more than you know.
The PA is awesome. He's my hero.
I'm Barry Manilow's PA. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you, sir?
Oh, good. I found you. I misdialed a minute ago, and I got Terminex.
When you dialed the number, you got Terminex?
I did a second ago, yeah. But it was the same kind of thing. Like, press 1. It was a 718-508 number, and then I misdialed something, and I got Terminex. So anyway, now I've got you. So listen, I'll get you on the phone really quickly. I just want to make sure I have the right number. I'm glad I tried first.
This is it. This is how you.
Okay. All right. We'll talk to you in like 10 minutes tops.
Thank you.
You taping it?
It's being taped, yes, sir.
Great, terrific. Okay, looking forward to talking to you.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Hey, bye.
That's me breathing. I called my mother, and then the phone rings again. Hi, this is Jamie.
Jamie, I got Mr. Manilow for you. It's Mark.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to put you on hold for a second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey there, Jamie.
So that's it. I mean, and that was like that was an electric moment because I was seriously shaking. I've been nervous, and Jerry and I like try to make small talk before we get Cameron or someone on the phone. Mm-hmm. But I mean, my voice was quivering. I was like, I gotta pull it together and pull off a decent interview.
How do you think you pulled yourself together in that particular instance? I mean, did you just have to, remember to breathe and all that kind of stuff, or what?
What makes me nervous is two ideas. The idea that I say something stupid, and the idea that they're going to be a jerk. Mm-hmm. Once I get that first question out, and I figure out that neither one of those things are going to happen, then I'm fine. I relax.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have you ever encountered an interview subject that was difficult
Well, I guess this is a good time to play Hauer, Rutger Hauer.
Yeah, let's do it. Roy Batty, yeah.
You want to? Okay, so we were talking Rutger Hauer. I'll let you press play on this, Jerry. It's Hauer, I think. It's
okay, all right. Oh,
so Rutger Hauer did an autobiography, and one of the movies I love of Rutger Hauer's is The Hitcher. I mean, he's scary as hell in that movie. I had one idea of like the conception or how he might have conceived that character. He had another because in the book he wrote about the compassion that he had for that character. And this conversation, he was calling from Amsterdam, and this conversation was like really kind of weird. And at one point I said, "Okay, I'm sorry, I don't want to keep you long because I realize it's long distance." Meaning I don't want to use too much of your dime on this call because that would be inconsiderate of us. He thought I meant I don't want to stay on the phone because I don't want to pay for this phone call. So he took offense to that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was it was a fine interview, but there was kind of like a tension in the air.
Oh yeah, there was. Okay, let me go ahead and play it.
The Hitcher is absolutely one of my favorite films of that genre, just because it's so down and dirty and kind of relentless. But I had a different kind of view of how you portrayed the character from when I read your book and read your take on it. I thought that you probably didn't require it was a role that didn't require you to find the humanity in it. But you had a very
You're right.
Is that correct, or do you have a different take on that character?
Are you asking me if it was a role that didn't? Can you be a little more precise, and I'll answer it precise.
Well, because a lot of times characters, when they play so-called villains, they search to find the humanity in the character, and I thought that this was a different kind of role.
Okay, in what way?
Well, it's an unstoppable force.
Are you saying you didn't feel the humanity?
I don't want to. I thought
you can
that
say anything you want.
I thought that the character represented an unstoppable force, and that's what he was.
Right.
The
force of what? I'm interviewing you now. The force of what?
Like an unstoppable, like a Terminator almost, just an unstoppable killing machine.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to take that away from you. It sounds fine. I play every character as humane as I can come up with. And it doesn't matter, what the character is. I play characters. I play people, basically. Yeah. And some people are really mean and others are not, So I thought he was charming. I thought he was one of the most charming men I would meet on the road.
Oh, my. I had a lot of flashbacks tonight.
Man. That was the one interview where I was nervous, actually, into the interview.
Yeah,
where it took like a nasty turn, and you had to like kind of pull it back somehow.
Yeah. But that was it was cool to have Rutger Hauer on.
Thank God we didn't interview him for Hobo with a shotgun. Okay, I mean.
He might have gone method with it.
Yeah.
I know about another guest that you had on the show that was difficult for you to land, and I wanted you to tell me a little bit about this process, and that is for the Kubrick series, Malcolm McDowell. I know that you and I had some discussions about when you were putting together the show on Clockwork Orange that you had tried to get Malcolm McDowell and you just couldn't crack that nut, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, and I remember telling you, I was like, well, you just got to do it. You just got to. So tell me a little bit about that process, like that particular.
Yeah,
time.
the thought of doing a Clockwork Orange show without Malcolm McDowell was not a thought. It was unthinkable. So I knew that we didn't have a show without him. So I tried forever. His manager, and I'll say his name because he's completely not cooperative. His manager's name is Chris Rowe. He will never write you back an email. And I found out why. His clients are, it's almost like a contract or something. They only communicate with certain outlets. And outlets that are not really advantageous to the talent. I found that out later. But, I sent this guy a dozen emails. I called him. I left messages on his phone. and nothing. I just want you to tell me no, if anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, well, that's done. I can't get them. And then this DVD distributor, they distribute like kind of B movies out there, and they said, hey, I'm excited. They found an email that I sent out. I sent out a blanket email to as many publicists and companies as I could in 2007, telling them about the show and trying to network. They dug up this email from 2007, and they said, hey, I just found this email from 4 years ago. Are you guys still around? And I said, yeah, we are. And they said, well, we're a DVD company. We have a new movie coming out with Malcolm McDowell. Would you be interested in interviewing him? It just, man, I mean, you can't predict it. I mean, it just happened. So I said, yes, I will interview him about this piece of crap movie as long as you also let me talk to him about Kubrick. And so we got him on the phone. He spent an hour talking, like 20 minutes about the new movie and the rest of the time about Kubrick and Altman and all that kind of stuff. Extremely, like, funny, intelligent, conversational guy. He's a great conversationalist. So it all worked out.
I met him one time at the Walter Reed Theater in New York City. I was going to see If and Oh Lucky Man, and he was going to be there. He was actually kept something for a movie that he like a one-man show type of movie called I forget, is it Never Apologize about his relationship with Lindsay Anderson, and sat and talked to him for about 20 minutes just in the lobby of the theater with no one else around, maybe 2 or 3 other people, and that was it. And he was just so personal, so kind, and great guy, really great guy. I just knew that I remember thinking, I know that if you can just get one sort of like arm into his airspace, that he would do it in a minute. So
most of the people that we try to get that we can't, it's because we just can't get to them. Like, it's almost like the Death Star has their shields on, and anything you fire at them just bounces off because you can't get it past the publicists. They won't even try to give it to the talent to let them consider it for themselves. And I understand that they're bombarded with stuff, but I mean, I showed them who's been on and why we want to do it. I think I make a pretty great case for why Al Pacino should do this show.
Oh yeah, I mean.
So let's touch on that. I want to touch on that for a second. I was going to go to Al Pacino right now. I know that he's your most desired, guest that you want to have on the show, and I know that recently you got to see him do his one-man show in Florida.
Right.
Or was it in Florida that you saw him? And I was really saying, just go for it. Just go up there and go to his handlers. Did you do that? Did you?
I couldn't. I would have, like in a heartbeat. But hundreds of people beat me to the microphone, and they only had time for 10 questions from the audience. But I did get an interview request letter to a stagehand who said that she would put it with his stuff that he takes with him. That's the best I could do, and I didn't hear anything back. But we have a new lead. His directorial project, Wild Salome, is coming out this year. It has a website. I've looked up the publicity people, and I've written them. Hopefully, since we were the first outlet to feature this movie 4 years ago, we interviewed 5 cast members. Hopefully that'll convince him to do our show. And we did a tribute show to him. We've talked to so many people that work with him. We always ask about him. We're Pacino obsessed on the show,
Mm-hmm.
It's the Pacino Admiration Show. That's what it should be called. But, I mean, the Pacino tribute show that we did was the 10th or so show that we did, the tribute we did after David Lynch. My only real regrets from doing the show come from that one. I have 2 regrets. And, Jerry, I don't think you know about one of these.
Oh, okay. What? Oh, this I've got to hear. Okay.
So I sent out, seriously, I still keep every single email. I've got, 50,000 emails that I've saved. I sent out 240-something interview requests for the Pacino tribute show. And among those that agreed obviously the ones that did it, were 5 cast members of Wild Salome, which is the new movie that Pacino stars in and directs. These were largely unknown actors.
Right.
Now, there was a 6th cast member of that movie that they didn't get back to me about her involvement. Well, they kind of said she's going to try to call in. And actually, in the middle of that interview where I have 5 open lines and I'm trying to conduct a conversation with 5 different people at once, she calls in, and that person is Jessica Chastain.
I knew it. I was wondering about that.
Who is now like this big rising star. She's in everything under the sun. She's just exploded. Mm-hmm. But her career really began several years ago when Pacino discovered her. It's just that now all those movies that she made in those years are coming out all in one big flux. Mm-hmm. So she's like the hottest new actress there is now.
Yeah.
Now, I was so green.
It's rare that you get a person that gets 7 movies out in 1 year.
Yeah. I was so green, and I would have handled it differently now, but I was so nervous already having 5 people and trying to navigate that. And I saw her call coming through, and I thought, I can't take it. I mean, and I should have taken it. And I felt bad about that. But there was another call that I missed then, too, during that show. That would have been another fascinating interview. I've never heard, like, an interview show do interview with this guy. I've read him in print. But he also called, but I kept writing this guy saying, all right, tell me you're going to call in. I just need confirmation, and he'd never do it. So I expected not to have him call in. So he calls in when I'm talking to a director by the name of Jerry Schatzberg during the Pacino show. And I can't take the call, because it would interrupt this conversation that I have going on. And that person was Frank Serpico.
Oh, man.
Okay, yeah.
So we missed Serpico and Jessica Chastain during that show. I mean, those are regrets.
Mm-hmm. Those are big regrets.
Wow.
What would you consider, among your biggest coups that you've gotten, like over, the biggest, maybe even the biggest scoop that you've gotten during the interviews or on?
Well, that would have to be Polanski, right?
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah.
What is that?
We were doing a tribute show to the movies of Polanski because we love a lot of those thrillers, a lot of his films. And we thought, what more fascinating life than Polanski? So we were putting it together. We'd done all of our interviews. Our last interview was on the Saturday, the week before the show was to air, and it was with Brett Ratner, the director, and the new producer of the Oscars, God forbid. So we were interviewing him, and he says, I'm making a new documentary about this sexual molestation case against Polanski and how wrong it is in his view. And that was a scoop. He hadn't revealed that to anyone before.
That's
so
right.
I was like, Hours later, I'm talking like 2 or 3 hours later, Polanski is arrested after being on the run for over 20 more years. And it's major international news. And we've got a little scoop related to that. So Blog Talk Radio and I kind of send out media to all the media outlets about the scoop. And the New York Post runs it first. They say, Polanski arrest, a big break for Brett Ratner, because they're so delicate when they come up with headlines, which kind of made my heart sink. I was like, God, this guy came on our show, and they made it a negative kind of thing. But then the Wall Street Journal picked it up, MTV picked it up, Entertainment Weekly ran it, and they all sourced our show in connection with it. So we made like international news in connection with the scandal. So we'll get it where we can take it.
Yeah, that's amazing. That was a really fascinating period for us because it snowballed so quickly. I had never been part of anything like that before.
And you never know when that kind of thing will happen. It's just like it's whatever the word for it is. It's chance.
That's right.
Let me ask you: do you get ratings information on the show at all?
We know our listener numbers. I mean, we get those.
Yeah.
I could tell you
but no
our two...
other detailed like audience breakdowns or anything like that.
I cannot remember where I saw this, but I saw that the average person, the average listening time for our show, like, you know, how do I put it? Like, when somebody logs in, what length of time on average do they stay with us? Was something like 42 or 45 minutes,
wow.
which is good.
That's very good.
Yeah,
that's a sustained amount of time. I can't remember what report. It was something that was emailed to me. It was a report that analyzes stuff, and I had to subscribe to it to keep getting that data. I didn't want to do that because it costs money. But we know how many listeners we get. We know generally what that is in comparison to other podcasts because of our kind, because I've looked into it. I mean, that's how I know that we're the top-rated movie-related podcast. Now, Kevin Smith, what's his name, Adam Carolla, like people that are involved in movies that have their own podcast, Kevin Pollak, do a lot more than we do. But they're not all about movies, those podcasts.
They're about everything, really, whatever they want to talk about.
But our two highest-rated shows are Francis Ford Coppola and Matthew Broderick, surprisingly. And then Cameron is third.
Matthew Broderick, that's very surprising.
He's a producer.
Was that a what show was that in connection with? I mean, was it something that he was?
He was promoting a movie called Wonderful World.
That's right.
Released like a year and a half ago. He said one really interesting thing in that movie because I can't remember what I asked him my favorite question that I ask a lot of filmmakers and people in movies, which is who have been in the business a long time, which is, does it mean something different to you now than it did when you first got started? And he answered that with, he said, it does, and I feel like I've done really bad work in the past couple of years. Like I haven't been happy with myself. And I'm just starting to get back in the groove of things and get excited about working and doing quality work again. That was an admission that I hadn't heard anywhere else from him,
And
usually they're very guarded.
It's just not the kind of thing you hear too many people say in general.
Right.
True.
That's amazing.
All right, so what should be our next highlight clip, and then Dean, you can continue. So, do you want to hear Jamie crying? I can't even scroll up to tell you the other clips that I have on here.
Hey, I got what about Burt Young?
All right, Burt Young.
I'll play Burt Young. Should I go ahead and play it?
Now, let me set this up.
Okay.
We did a Hal Ash, and then we'll play me crying because I know the women out there really want to hear me sob and make a baby out of myself. Burt Young was on our Hal Ashby tribute show with Jon Voight. Burt Young is a great actor. Most people know him as Paulie in the Rocky movies.
Yeah.
Very funny, charismatic guy. But Hal Ashby was a great director. Every movie he made in the 70s was golden. Being There, Shampoo, Last Detail, Harold and Maude, the Bob Dylan thing. What was that one? Bound for Glory.
Yeah, Bound for
Glory. Yeah.
Not Bob Dylan,
Woody
but
Guthrie.
the other guy.
Yeah,
Guthrie.
Woody Guthrie.
He was great filmmaker. Now, he made this movie that was kind of taken from him by the studios and recut. Hal Ashby secretly took it back, cut it to his specifications, and gave it to UCLA, and it wasn't found until just 2 years ago. So it felt like a new Hal Ashby movie that we had, 17 years after his death, or 20 years, or whatever it was. So the show was a celebration of him and highlighting this new print that was found of his movie. Burt Young is in that movie with Jon Voight. So he came on and he started talking about how close he was to Hal and his memory of Ashby's last day on Earth, and that's what this clip is.
Okay. You want me to play? You want me to?
Go ahead.
Okay. Just making sure we.
He had been sick for a little while.
Yeah.
At the end, he wasn't working, and he never was a pushing type of man. I think he worked with a rock group to do something that was quite brilliant, but he wasn't doing any movies. at the end of his life, and he was sick, and nothing was working, and he was brought home to his place in Malibu, and his friends were trying everything, crystals and candles and everything, and this might sound like self-aggrandizement for me, but it wasn't. I don't mean it that way. But I went out to see him, and he was looking shaggy. His beard was shaggy. He had on disheveled, like the farmer's overalls with the straps around his shoulder. And he was laying in bed, and I laid down next to him. I asked him, is he scared, He says, yeah, Bert. And I just laid there with him for about 20 minutes. Not much I could say. And I went home, and honestly, I had a dream in the morning. And Hal was sparkling clean and shaved and in bright new overalls. And he was beaming like the sunshine. And they called me about 10 in the morning, told me he died.
Oh.
And that's a fact.
Wow.
Wow, that's just stunning.
Yeah.
That's stunning.
He died of cancer. I think it was pancreatic or liver cancer or something like that. Hal Ashby did.
Yeah.
Well, happy.
Wow,
yeah, really.
Stunning. I love that though. Okay, so let's hear you crying. That's perfect for after this.
All right. Oh yeah.
All right, let me set this up. Set this up. I just want to set it up by saying, I'm a confident man.
You're a serious man.
I'm very masculine, but I'm emotional too. And this was the one time on the show that I let my emotions get the best of me.
Okay.
I was okay. It was a Sunday show. Vicky Cristina Barcelona, which is a Woody Allen movie with Scarlett Johansson and Penelope Cruz and Javier Bardem, came out that weekend. I saw it. I got out of it like an hour before the show started. We were to review it during that show. I had a reaction to that movie that I've never, ever had with a Woody Allen movie because it kind of brought home to me how I feel in my own life. I've been a failure to myself. And, I was very emotional walking out of it. I remember sitting in my car out in the parking lot, and I started crying. So I came home, and I started doing the show. We talked about Tropic Thunder for the first half hour, and then we got into Vicky Cristina, and this is what happened. Okay, I'm going to wince.
Here, let's play it. I'm going to play it.
I will say that I do feel a real awakening in Woody Allen. I think he has become, in these past efforts, a true international director. Not just because he's shooting elsewhere, but because he finds his muse in each of these different locations.
Right.
I mean, his writing, and it amazes me how he writes so fast. He got Barcelona's Fade Up Money. They said, we want you to shoot out here. There, he came out with an idea. And it comes from his television days, where he had to write scripts on the fly for all these different situations. It's one of the most, first of all, Menage a Trois or not, it's one of the most romantic movies I've seen, because these people, I mean, they truly love and respect one another, and you feel that. I love his dialogue. He uses a narrator again in this one. And sometimes the narration is a little too, it's Woody Allen. It's very literate.
Right.
Sometimes the narration is used in places where it shouldn't be. But I enjoy the sound of his dialogue. I enjoy that kind of brainy inner thought. The narrator's basically, and the actors are so good. I mean, talk about a perfectly cast movie. There's not a weak link in this movie, and they're all so vivid.
They are.
What struck me was, I got out of high school. I hung around all that artsy crowd. I was inspired by them, and it kind of fed off each other. It was such an exciting environment. I could have gone off to New York or Hollywood or what have you, and my dreams could have come true. But part of it was too scared A lot of it was I didn't want to leave my family behind.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's likewise. So, and you got that from watching this through the Scarlett Johansson character, Jamie.
Yeah, it's in the whole thing.
Okay, dude, it's cool. It's cool. I'm with you here, so don't worry. Folks, I'm going to interject because Jamie is actually had the balls to actually say something that's been on my mind probably for 6 or 7 years, and he's being very honest. And it's something I think about a lot, and he's just more brave in vocalizing it. And this is why I am very grateful to do the show with him, because we both come from the same place in this regard. And he has just been, and I'm just like really flabbergasted in the last 2 minutes, said something that's been on my mind for years. So we'll let him take his time to get his...
I mean, you're all, you guys are, you and our listeners, we're all family, and I want to be emotional because,
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, my God, that's why we love movies.
Yeah.
I just feel like, I felt that longing to live a vivid life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, so that's making me crying.
Wow, yeah.
Wow, y'all choke up there for a second.
I still feel that way. I mean, I'm kind of tearing up now because I think about missed opportunities and what your full potential could be, and not grasping that opportunity to reach it. And it's not, in the movie it's portrayed as a romantic thing. She can marry the guy that's kind of like her safe. But then there's this wild kind of passionate Spaniard or whatever he is, and it promises a very different life and a different future for her that she kind of in the back of her mind she longs for, and she wishes she was brave enough to pursue. And I read that and related it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So you did actually have, desires. So that goes back to the first question that I asked that started the show. Was that you actually did have desires to perhaps get deeper into...
I wanted to run off with a Spaniard. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
no,
you wanted to run off and join the circus.
Well, it wasn't. It wasn't. I didn't relate to it on like a romantic level. I mean, it was different in terms of my dream. My dream was to pursue acting, and it's still something that I can do. I'm trying to do, but I've always felt emotional about that, and not like seizing it when I was young and had the hunger and right out of school and had that fire and passion to go out, and strike out on my own, because my father was sick, my mother would have been a worrywart. I didn't want to leave them or be very far from them. Whereas I know that if I had just done that, I mean, that would have been the hurdle that I would have crossed then, and it would be a completely different life now. It would be common now. It would be my life, and
Well, do you feel like the show contributes in some way to your having a more vivid life?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I feel great pride, and I'm sure Jerry does too. I mean, we've accomplished something here, and we've accomplished something on our own. I mean, not really on the shoulders of others. I mean, we had a vision, and we came up with it. We realized it, and we still do. I mean, we got farther to go.
I'll speak on my discovery of the show. What struck me was that, you see, I've kind of devoted all of my life to talking about movies and trying to bring people to watching great movies and experiencing things that I thought were terrific. And one of the things that I always was thinking about was, why isn't there I used to listen. I listened to a lot of talk radio, and there would be sports shows, and there would be shows about music, and there would be shows about politics. I said, why isn't there a show about movies? Why couldn't there be this show about movies? And then lo and behold, I didn't really know much about podcasts either, and I don't know exactly how I found Movie Geeks United, maybe through Facebook or something like that, which I was a latecomer to Facebook, but. Through Facebook, I think I found Movie Geeks United, and I tuned in. It was absolutely the first podcast movie-related or any other kind of podcast that I'd ever listened to. And I was like, this is it. This is the show I've always wanted to listen to. And I was taken by your knowledge and your rapport back and forth, and the guests. But I've always considered the guests, for me, to be sort of secondary, and I was like, oh well, God, I've got to call into this show, and so that's what got me, at least my foot in the door or whatever. What did you guys? Let me ask you a question. First of all, I want to ask you about the other two movie geeks, Chris Wetton.
Right.
Let's talk about Chris for a second. Where does he come into the Movie Geeks United sort of franchise, like in terms of, or whatever you want to call it, franchise or empire?
Unlike, I mean, he's considered a co-host among the core three, just because he started with us and gave the show kind of an identity from the get-go. But he's unlike Jerry and I. I mean, he has his own family. And so, but he always wants to do the show. He just isn't into the interviews. So when we have a show that isn't interview related, it's usually on Sunday nights that's convenient for him.
Right.
We bring him on because, I mean, we love to have him. I mean, he injects the show with a lot of great humor.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
He's kind of the great wild card.
Yeah, he is.
He keeps things lively, and sometimes when it's just Jerry and I mean, we know
very
this routine.
Casual.
Yeah.
Very
so
laid
it gives
back.
us a shot of adrenaline.
Do you ever
Aaron,
feel like? Yeah, well, let's go. But to Aaron.
Aaron came on to talk about interviews that he did with film critics, and then I talked to him on the phone, and we started talking back and forth about our kind of personal lives. And Aaron suffered a loss; his mother passed. And I think we kind of bonded over that because I could tell that family was very important to him. And, honestly, Aaron and I talk almost every day, if not every other day. So I said, hey, why don't you have a permanent spot on the show? Why don't you do DVD reviews and that kind of thing? Like, you'll do home entertainment.
Yeah.
And he said, okay. So that's how that worked out.
Right. And then
you...
which I guess I'm the newest.
Yeah, you're the newest one.
And so I mean, I just called in and kept calling in. So,
right, because no one else was brave enough to do that.
And plus, I guess another thing is that I have a big bank of knowledge, just like you two guys do. So,
definitely.
I could talk. One of the big things is I can talk extemporaneously about movies and always have an opinion about them and so forth and so on.
You wanted to, and your kind of identity on the show started, or your role on the official title on the show started because you were in New York and you said, hey, I want to try to get in this New York Film Festival as Movie Geeks, under the Movie Geeks outlet. So I said, all right. So, and you did, and so I said, that's a great idea. Why don't you cover special events, festivals for us, because we've never had that. And you're going to New York Film Festival again this month.
That's correct.
Covering that. So I mean, that's a great. I've always kind of dreamt of us having correspondents out there in the field, and I want you to actually physically be standing in a field when you correspond.
With the wind blowing and shit.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, I'm incredibly proud to be the newest member of Movie Geeks United, of course, and
we're proud to have you.
Yeah, we love having you. So yeah, definitely.
let me ask you about this. You have day jobs.
We have what?
You have day jobs.
Yeah.
Right.
Can you tell me, is it too much to ask, like, to tell me what you do in your day jobs?
Huh.
I like to keep them separate, to be honest with you. I really.
You do? You want to keep
I
them
do.
separate?
Not just it's just how I am. It's just opening up another can of worms for me. I mean, Jamie wants to talk about, but yeah, I really have. It's like, what is it? Yeah, I'd rather just keep it to myself.
But your day jobs. Okay, so with the day jobs, have you? Do the people in your lives, in that part of your lives, do they know about your second life as sort of like
it does feel like that. I mean, it does feel like Bruce Wayne Batman at times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they know?
Mine do. I mean, I work in the medical
they
field.
know. But I just we talked about this actually a couple months ago on the show. I really like to keep it separate. I really get uncomfortable because I never brought it up, but someone brought it up to other people who work there, so then everyone found out. But I really try to keep them separate, you know. That's just how I am. I just like to keep it separate.
And my work kind of has to know because, I mean, sometimes I got to come home for lunch and talk to Robert Duvall. So I might be a little late coming back from, and they're very accommodating, and they think it's neat, you know. But I work. I'm a copywriter, and I edit videos and stuff for a medical clinic. That's what I do.
Now, well, first of all, I want to ask you this: Have you guys ever thought about doing the show as a webcam production, or even doing a special show?
Only if I can be nude.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be, some sort of pornographic angle to it. No, of course not. No, we have thought about a webcam because that's obviously, but I think if we lived in the same area, we'd definitely entertain a video aspect. I think we would try to do that. The webcam is hard though, because I don't think that's 100% reliable.
You know, and plus we don't spend money on actual production of the show, and I mean it's my fault. I mean I've been so kind of preoccupied with guests and promoting and that kind of stuff as Jerry has that I haven't looked into advertising and the advertising that we need to afford to upgrade. You know.
But let me throw something out there. I actually think it works better as a podcast, as a radio thing, because if people have to watch it, then let's be honest, we all have ADD, and we're all, people are probably surfing on the web and everything while they're listening to us or doing something else, so they can have it on in the background, so they don't have to actually watch it.
I like the idea of radio anyway. I mean,
I do too.
I like the mystery of it.
I personally do too. I think you're going the right way, to do the radio thing.
Now the next step. I mean, I think we're going to jump over the whole webcam thing. We're going to try to do the show telepathically.
There you
at
go.
some stage.
Or holographic images.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, really, exactly.
Okay, so the next question is I think the most obvious, and maybe one that you might not want to answer, but do you have any kind of plans ever on taking the show into the commercial realm so that you can quit your day jobs and actually devote your entire lives to this? And
it's always on the mind. I mean, that's what every that would be the ideal thing. If you're doing it this long, that would be the ideal thing. It's all building up to that. I would like to think. But that's why we do these things. It's not. I mean, like I said, if it was the other way around, if we had just stuck with the one format, then I would have said no, we wouldn't. But if you're doing something like this, if we're getting people listening all over the world, if Jamie's getting these emails from all over the world. And if people are, it is very flattering if someone in Australia or someone in Germany or someone in Israel is listening to the show. You need to pinch yourself sometimes because you're like, wow, there are all these people all over the world listening to this. and it is obviously touching people. And it's not just us. I mean, Jamie got an email from Crispin Glover for crying out loud. I mean,
yeah, tell us about that for a second.
Oh, that was it. I mean, he loved our Kubrick series, and he wanted to know where the others were. It's like you and everybody else.
Yeah.
But it was incredibly flattering. I had and I talked to someone the other day, a film instructor who is really close friends with Martin Scorsese. He listens to our Kubrick series, and he said, I don't know why Marty hasn't done that show yet. And so I asked this friend of mine, I said, can I give you the interview request for Scorsese and you can give it to this professor and maybe he could deliver it to Scorsese himself to try to get, so we never know who's out there listening, and we feel like we're in a bubble until we start getting emails and stuff saying, oh, man, I love this. And it really started happening with De Palma. Like De Palma, we started getting a big Canadian following.
Mm-hmm.
Then the De Palma series, we got a lot more people because we did a thriller series for De Palma. And then our Kubrick series, it's like worldwide. That's when we started to see emails from really all over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I don't know how to I don't know how to, I still feel like such an amateur moron about a lot of this stuff. I'm not sure what avenues to pursue to make this, to monetize this.
Right.
To bring it into like a professional career.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a moron.
It's very hard. No, you're not a moron. It's something that a lot of people have. I remember back in 99 or 2000, there used to be a weekly newsletter that I would get on a film, and the guy confessed he couldn't do it anymore, and it had a large following and everything, but because he's working 2 jobs and he just couldn't do it anymore.
You know what? But the reason why we've lasted, and it sounds stupid and obvious, but it's true. The reason why we've lasted is because we haven't quit.
Right.
I mean, sometimes that's all there is to it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you want longevity, don't quit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I think one thing that that comes into play there is, I think one thing that comes into play is that it's not too much of a burden to you to actually do the shows. That is, to do a show once or twice a week, because for the kind of the feel of the show is that you're kind of connecting with people who are kind of part of each other's family.
Right.
It's you're and it's sort of like catching up almost. Every show is
right.
Sort
of
like that.
And the encouragement of our listeners, and to know that they're out there listening and they actually enjoy and get something out of what they're hearing. I mean, that keeps us going big time.
Right. I mean,
when it becomes a grind.
I mean, you would. I don't know if we would be still doing it, but that kind of thing, that does help when we get these emails, or when someone says, hey, I listened to that show, great job, or someone will send you an email or give you a call and say that show was awesome. That keeps you want to do it, and you want to do it better and better each time out. It's just really encouraging, because it is if you don't hear anything, you're like, well, if no one's listening to it, then there comes a point where you are just going to be like, is it worth the effort? After a couple of years, but I mean, it's amazing. The feedback we get that Jamie gets and shares with us is astounding.
And the Kubrick series, Kubrick series is the next level for us, really.
Right.
And and we did the Kubrick series because I didn't like Stanley Kubrick.
And that's great. That's probably the best reason to do it.
And I wanted to find out what I was missing, because I knew that I was missing something, because I admired him, but I didn't enjoy any of his films. And then it was like an epiphany. And in the process of putting it together, I thought, oh my God, no, he's amazing. These are some of the most amazing, remarkable films that I've ever seen. But it took me like a long time to get there.
Right.
I think this is like the next evolution of where we're going. Like, this is more than talk about the new releases between ourselves, or guest interviews about the newest release that they have out that weekend. It's really delving in as deeply as possible to some of the greats. I love the idea of doing that. And plus, from a listener standpoint, those will guarantee repeat listens. I mean, a Kubrick series will never expire as long as people are interested in movies and Stanley Kubrick. It's not about the new release that weekend. It doesn't have an expiration date. Yeah. So you get a lot more listeners that way too. So it's
So you see those the theme shows and things like that as being things that can stand alone and are always out there for people to use.
Yeah, and I personally love them.
Yeah,
like, I love our summer series. Like that's nostalgic fun, and that's infectious.
The Saw 4 show is not going to be remembered.
Right.
Of course, I will remember it always, but
the best listener caller ever on that show.
Best listener question of all time. Greatest listener question of all time.
So are there any clips of this available?
No, there's not.
No,
I wasn't able to pull it.
I'm not that cruel.
But I'll tell you what it is. We were having the star of Saw 4 on. His flight got delayed, and so we were doing the show. The first half was about Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We had a couple of people from the original on.
Mm-hmm.
Then the second half was about Saw. This guy couldn't show up. So they called and apologized profusely, and I said, well, let's do it tomorrow night. Let's just schedule an interview show just with you, and we'll do it tomorrow night. So we did it live. Now, that first night, this kid called in that loves Saw, and he was so excited to talk to this guy.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, okay, now he's not coming on tonight's show. I'm so sorry, but you have 24 hours to think of your question because you can call back tomorrow night. I'll give you a shot to talk to him. And he was, beside himself. So this guy had 24 hours to think of a question. He calls in. You could tell he's just excited as hell. He says, yeah, I wanted to know that scene in the preview where the guy tackles you. And the guy's like, yeah. Says, did that hurt?
Yeah, I mean...
Great.
It was the greatest.
Then we had this guy that was calling, like we were interviewing William Forsythe, the actor, for our Paul Schrader show. And Dana Delaney, the actress, was coming up on the next segment. And he kept calling for Dana Delaney.
Oh, I remember. Yeah. Oh, my God, yeah.
I thought it was a call for William Forsythe, and I picked it up. And I was like, caller, you're on the air. And he said, yes, Dana Wells Delaney. Like, he used her middle name, which was very creepy. And I said, no, sir, she hasn't come on yet. And then he just hung up without saying anything. And Forsythe started laughing. He was like, yeah, that's great.
So I guess this is the reason why you guys don't do a lot of live interviews or that much these days.
The pressure's off a little bit when we pre-record them. And we have more control because we don't know, will they call in late or not call in at all, and we got to fill that time. And we liked the production of putting in clips from their movies in between the interview segments and stuff. I mean, it just sounds better. It's a better production when they're pre-recorded.
Now, with the Kubrick series, also, it seems to me that you have also entered another realm in the sense that it is it is a masterful use of editing, music editing, clip editing, and source interview editing. And then also your voiceover. That seems to be like something that's. Did you feel pressure because you were doing the Kubrick series and how
somebody said that my voice was like sleep inducing. Like
no, they did not.
I'm sorry. Yes, they did. Actually, they wrote on their blog like, yeah, the guy has no passion in his voice whatsoever. I was like, well, first of all, we're talking about Stanley Kubrick, a filmmaker that's known as pretty cold and methodical. I'm sorry if I'm not singing, Whistling Dixie when I'm doing the Kubrick series. But I love bad reviews. I think they're great. The Kubrick series, it's like I wanted it to be an audio documentary, which is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's an extraordinary achievement, I think.
Well, thank you.
As it keeps going along.
There's no way around it. It is.
And then our next series will be about 70s cinema. Like we'll go year by year.
Right.
So hopefully that'll get a whole other, group section of people.
That'll be amazing as well, for sure.
And then we'll do the Uwe Boll series.
Yeah, the Uwe Boll series. That will be the one. That's the series to beat.
Yeah. And we'll bring back all the guests from the Stanley Kubrick series to talk about Uwe Boll.
Is there? It seems like we've kind of covered everything. Is there anything that you think that I haven't covered?
I have one story.
Okay, yeah. This I want to hear. Okay.
Save that last question, Dean. But I have one story that I've never revealed on the air, and Jerry, I think I've told you when it happened. So we're in like our first year and a half or something of the show. I get a message on Facebook from a porn star that says, "I'd love to do your show. Can I send you a care package?"
Whoa.
And I'm like, she actually said care package, and I didn't know, the mind wonders. So I said, sure. So she sends me her newest movie, and I don't go out and buy pornography. So this thing is like a DVD, like 3-disc DVD set that folds out. I mean, it's deluxe. So being a geek that I am, I put it on and I listen to it with the commentary because I'm like, what does the porno commentary sound like? And it was hysterical. But and then she sent me a calendar and something else. So she wanted to do the show. So she said, just get with my manager and we'll figure out a time. So I got with her manager. Her manager wanted me to meet her and do the interview face to face. I said, we don't record interviews that way. It's just the telephone is more convenient.
Right.
She lives in my area actually, so it wouldn't be that
Actually, a lot of them do.
Yeah. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
It never happened because when I said that we do it by phone and we don't do it face to face, the communication kind of ended. But the porn star was Stormy Daniels. I don't know if anybody.
Yeah, I remember this. Yeah.
Yeah. But so I should have revealed that story to kind of confirm my masculinity after the crying clip. So there you go. First time revealed on the show.
Yeah.
So, Jerry, do you have any kind of story that you would like to tell?
No, I think that you really can't top Stormy Daniels. I'm not even going to try that. That would be insulting to every star I know. I can't top that. Come on, Dean. Come on. We're all gentlemen here. Come on.
I was just taking a stab in the dark.
Yeah,
okay.
Stab in the dark.
Yeah, I think she wanted me to do that too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that I pretty much think that we've covered everything. That this has been a really,
think so too.
I think really insightful couple of hours here.
So let me look at our remaining clips, and I'll figure out one to close the show with. We have an interesting clip. Well, we have Bo Goldman talking about the Pacino character instead of woman.
Mm-hmm.
We have Bobcat Goldthwait joking about Michael Jackson.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a good interview. That was a really good interview.
Yeah, good guy.
We have pretty good right there.
Yeah. We have this really fascinating, chilling thing that we did. It's memorable for me. It was the last interview we did before last Christmas, and it was the worst Merry Christmas interview you could possibly imagine.
Was this the thing with Gacy?
Yes, it was the childhood friend of John Wayne Gacy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
Let's play that because that's fascinating. And he talked about, hooking up with, meeting Gacy again a couple of months before he was arrested for being, obviously a serial killer. So it's like Gacy Murder 7 is the clip.
Okay, let me play that.
And this was your Christmas show.
Right after this interview, we were like, all right,
yeah,
Merry Christmas, everybody.
I remember this. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and play this clip, gentlemen. Okay, here we go.
So I finally made the decision. I called, and I'm shaking like a leaf, and he says, what are you shaking for? Because I'm stuttering. And I said, well, it's because I went down to see my father. I haven't seen him in some time. And he said, would you like to come out to my house? And I said, where do you live? In Norwich, Illinois. So I thought nothing of it. And yet, in the back of my mind, I could hear these words, don't go there. Don't go there. Well, you don't pay no attention to that. So the next morning I got up and used my dad's car to drive there, and I found him eventually after I got lost. And I found it. It was about 10:30, and he comes outside, and I said, "Johnny, what in the hell is this smell?" "Oh," he said, "I should have told you. My sewage broke." Yeah, well, what do I know? I believed it, like everybody else. So we went in the house, and I said, "The smell in here." Yeah, because down below the living room is Johnny Gacy's cemetery, which no one knew about, not even me. So I'm sitting there, and I'm trying to talk, and I'm gagging, and we must have talked for about an hour or reminisced. I'm sure we did about the Christmas show that's in my book, the restaurant we did together, the Christmas caroling. And then at one point I said, "Well, I got to go soon because I got to get back home." My dad was going to fix spaghetti for me. I love spaghetti meatballs. I'll never get it the way he did it, but at least that was then. So anyways, we're getting ready to leave. He said, "Oh, wait a minute. I got something I want to do." And I said, and he goes in the bedroom. He comes out with some handcuffs. And he says to me, "Would you try these handcuffs on?" And right at that moment, sir, I tell you, anybody can contradict me all they want, but the good Lord was looking out for me. He said, "Tell him to get you a glass of water." So when he went to get the glass of water, I grabbed my dad's keys. I'm trembling, but I can't put a connection on it yet. I'm scared to death. No connection yet. So I run, and I try to get out, and I run up against a wall, and I fall on the floor. And it's all there documented in my book. And then I get up, and I run outside. He comes after me. He says, "Don't leave my side." Now, that would have been the old Johnny, because that's how he talked to me, I got to the car. I couldn't get the keys in. My water's running off me like a fountain. I'm hysterical. Well, whatever. Anyways, I get in the car, and as I gun it to pull away, I look back, and he's got his hands up in there. He says, "I'm going to murder you." Now, that you would have thought that would have clicked me right then. No. What happened was I thought I had offended him by not doing the handcuffs, because he said he had the keys, see? No. He was mad because he hadn't finished the job that he had thought he was going to do, and that is kill Barry, his friend that he grew up with.
That's
wow. Wild. I remember that, yeah.
It was chilling. I did imagine saying Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Well,
it's a movie Geeks Christmas.
Yeah.
At least there was a little mention of Christmas caroling in there.
It's true. He said that John Wayne Gacy was a beautiful singer as a kid, and they used to Christmas carol together around the neighborhood.
Wow.
Got to watch out for those carolers.
Yep.
Evil.
They're hiding something.
Yeah, really, man.
Well, it's been
Dino,
a real pleasure talking to you guys.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dean.
And,
you're the best, and I appreciate you taking time out to do this for us.
Yeah,
well,
really. Thank you.
Thank you for asking me to do it. And we'll talk again on Sunday.
And we'll talk again Sunday. It will be a very very chilling show.
Yeah.
No. I mean, they're the best of the best way I can say it.
Sunday's 9/11.
9/11.
And so we're doing a 9/11 on film show, and we'll cover the documentaries and the movies that have been made depicting those events, and kind of analyze what they did right, what they did wrong, and what we can expect of 9/11 portrayals in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be an interesting topic on 9/11. And then we'll do something about the legacy of Siskel and Ebert in connection to Roger Ebert's new book that's coming out next Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And then hopefully we'll get some guests soon. So
yeah, definitely.
Because we're in a dry spell. Let's end the show with like a funny thing.
Okay.
So let's end it with Chris's, because we have to hear Chris's voice. Let's do Chris doing Arnold Schwarzenegger.
All right, let me find it.
It's Chris Schwarzenegger. But first of all, Chris does an awesome Schwarzenegger impression. So that when Schwarzenegger, it came out, this big scandal of him sleeping with his maid and producing a child and blah, 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 we wanted Chris to come out as Schwarzenegger. Chris is funny as Schwarzenegger because everything he says references a movie in Schwarzenegger's filmography.
Mm-hmm.
I I was amazed that he could take it as far as he did, and that he was as quick as he was. And I cannot keep a straight face when Chris does the Schwarzenegger, so I'm just howling with laughter trying to talk to him. So we'll close the show with this. I'll mute you guys, and we can hang up after this clip, but this will be our closing. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Join us on Twitter, twitter.com/MovieGeeksUnite. We have a fan page that was started by Jet Noir, a great friend and a great
very good
supporter
friend.
of our show.
Mm-hmm.
It's so nice of her to do that. And she's
it was. It was incredible.
So join us there as well. If you have a question for the Geeks or a comment, email us at moviegeeksunite@yahoo.com. And we'll see you Sunday night, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Here is Chris, the third movie geek, as Arnold Schwarzenegger. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you so much for calling in. Can I call you Arnie?
Yes. Please do call me whatever you like, Movie Geeks. This is my favorite show, and I couldn't be happier to tell you about the end of days for my wedding, for my marriage to Maria. If I'm going to talk to anyone about it, it would, of course, be Movie Geeks United, who is my favorite internet movie program.
Thank you. We'll use that as a soundbite.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you saying that. So let's talk about the scandal. So you impregnated your maid. You've had this secret love child that you've kept under lock and key from your wife and from your state and from everyone for the past 10 years. Did you know in your heart that this day would come where you would have to face the music?
It has been going on for so long. Let me see if I can have a total recall throughout the years of everything that's been happening. If I can, I'll go ahead and give you the rundown. You see, when I started in this love affair, I had no idea this woman was going to be the destroyer of marriages.
Mr. Schwarzenegger, I'm surprised you didn't terminate her.
If I had, I wouldn't have had to claim that she was only collateral damage.
He's even thrown in some in there that he wasn't even in. So, Mr. Schwarzenegger, let me ask you about this. We'll get back to your scandal, but the newest political scandal that just erupted last week involves Mr. Wiener, who tweeted photos of himself to various women anonymous women throughout the country. So what do you think of this scandal? Are you relieved by it? Do you have any advice for Mr. Wiener?
I can tell you this. I can tell you that Senator Wiener Schnitzel is wishing right now that he could go back in time with an eraser and not send the tweet of his Wiener Schnitzel Kackengard.
Of his what? I'm sorry?
Of his Wiener Schnitzel Kackengard. We all thought that Senator Wiener Schnitzel was a good, upstanding citizen. But I understand that some of the tweets were sent to underage girls, which would make him a sexual predator.
Oh, dear God.
Hang on. So, tell me, Mr. Schwarzenegger, tell me how your marriage is doing. What's the latest there? Have you been able to make any progress with Maria, or is it over?
Well, as you know, I was telling true lies for so many years that at this point, I think that the marriage is expendable.
Oh, dear.
Jerry, do you have any questions? Help me out here, man.
Okay. So, did you put a paper bag over her head?
Yeah, she's not very attractive. What?
It seems like I should have worn a different kind of bag, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, that was
because I always thought that people would be making fun of me for the movie Junior, not for the actual Junior. But it could be worse. We could have had twins.
Oh my God.
Okay. So, all right, now let's talk about your return to the big screen. You had a couple of projects lined up before this scandal broke, and you've put them on hold, understandably so. But stuff like the Governator animated series, which I don't think anyone really cared about, and another Terminator, and something called Cry Macho, which mirrors what's been going on. I mean, someone that's in love with a Mexican woman, and they produce a child that he just reconnects with years later. I mean, that had to have personal relevance to you, that project.
The project was never really going to get off the ground. The production company was trying to screw me. They really gave me a raw deal. And ever since then, I've been the running man trying to get away from the media, the TMZ. And, the deal is obviously going to be terminated.
Okay. Now, is there any answer you can give me that references Jingle All the Way? That's all I'm concerned about.
I would have to go around the world in 80 days to answer that question, Jamie.
Okay. Well, anyone want to know anything else from Mr. Schwarzenegger? I mean, while you have him on.
I mean, is there any chance he could star in a movie with Congressman Wiener?
What movie do you think we could do? Batman and Robin? Before you let me go, Jamie, I have to tell you something.
Okay.
Jamie.
Yes.
You're one ugly motherfucker.
There you go.